The theft in the moonlight. The night was quiet. A soft wind moved through the trees. The moon was full and white, lighting up the farm like a lantern in the dark. Eli, a middle-aged human man, sat on his porch, drinking warm tea. He had finished his work early and now enjoyed the calm night air. Suddenly, something moved near the garden. Eli's eyes narrowed. He placed his mug down slowly and stood up. His hand reached for the old flashlight hanging by the door. Clicking it on, he stepped off the porch and walked toward the sound. Crunch. Another step. Something, or someone, was walking through the dry leaves. "Who's there?" Eli called out. His voice was calm, but firm. No answer. He moved the flashlight, left and right. The beam of light cut through the shadows, then stopped. There, by the edge of his vegetable patch, was a figure. Small, thin and shaking. Long, messy hair, clothes torn and dirty. Eli took one step closer. The figure turned quickly, clutching a few carrots and half a cabbage. It wasn't human. Her skin was pale blue. Her eyes, large and glowing, stared at him with fear. Her arms were shaking. She looked around, then ran. "Hey, wait!" Eli shouted. But she didn't stop. She sprinted across the field, barefoot and limping. Her legs were weak and she stumbled once, then again. The stolen food fell from her arms, but she didn't stop. She kept running, until she collapsed, face down in the dirt. Eli froze for a moment, unsure of what to do. Then slowly, he walked toward her. She was breathing, but her body was thin, too thin. Her back rose and fell quickly. He could hear her whispering. Her voice was soft, almost gone. "Please, don't hurt me," she said. "Please, my child is hungry." Eli knelt beside her. "You tried to steal from me," he said quietly. She nodded, but didn't look up. "I had no choice." Eli noticed now. Her ribs were showing through her skin. Her hands were cold. He looked around, expecting to see more aliens or maybe a trap. But there was no one, just this dying woman in the dirt. "What child?" he asked. The alien woman slowly lifted her head. Her eyes met his, tired, hopeless eyes. "He's hiding, near the trees. Please don't hurt him. I just wanted to feed him." Eli stood up and looked toward the forest. He couldn't see anything. Then, he heard it. A small sound, a whimper, like a baby animal, or a child crying. Eli turned on his flashlight again and walked carefully toward the sound. Behind a pile of wooden crates near the barn, something moved. A small alien child peeked out. He was thin like his mother, his eyes wide, cheeks sunken. He didn't run, but he didn't move closer either. He just looked scared. Eli knelt down. "It's okay," he said gently. "I'm not going to hurt you." The boy stayed quiet, holding onto a piece of cloth. His lips trembled. Behind him, the mother tried to rise, but fell again. "Zilo," she whispered. "Go to him." The boy looked back at his mother, then slowly walked toward her. When he reached her, he dropped to his knees and hugged her tightly. Eli watched the scene. The wind blew again, colder now. He had never seen something like this. 2 starving aliens. A mother who tried to steal, not for greed, but for her child. Eli sighed. "You can't stay out here," he said at last. The mother looked up. "What?" "You'll freeze tonight, both of you. Come with me." She hesitated. "You'll turn us in?" "No," Eli said. "I don't know what your story is, but I can't leave you like this." Slowly, carefully, he helped her stand. She winced in pain, but didn't fight him. The child held onto her hand tightly. Eli led them to the old barn. It wasn't much, just hay, some blankets and tools, but it was warm. He handed them a bottle of water. The mother drank slowly, like every drop mattered. The boy ate a cold piece of bread without saying a word. Eli watched them in silence. He didn't know their names. He didn't know where they came from. But tonight, a line had been crossed. And now, he was part of it. A cry in the darkness. The wind howled outside, the barn. Rain had begun to fall, soft at first, then heavier. It tapped on the roof like nervous fingers. Inside, Eli sat on a wooden crate, staring at the two figures huddled in a corner. The alien mother was wrapped in an old blanket. Her arms held the boy tightly against her chest. She didn't sleep. She just rocked back and forth, whispering something in her language, soft, shaky words that sounded like a lullaby. The boy had eaten half a piece of bread and then fallen asleep, curled against her. Eli didn't speak. He just watched. He had so many questions, but didn't know where to begin. Who were they? Where did they come from? Why was no one looking for them? Suddenly the boy stirred in his sleep. A small, broken cry escaped his mouth. His hands reached out blindly, his face twisted in fear. "No, Mama. Don't leave me." The mother woke instantly. Her hand gently stroked his head, calming him. Eli stood up. "Bad dream?" The mother nodded slowly. He sees things when he sleeps. The camps, the hunger, the soldiers." Eli's eyes narrowed. "Camps?" She looked down. "We escaped long ago from a mining colony. I was taken there after my world fell. He was born there, he's never known peace." Eli took a deep breath. "And now we hide. Run. Steal when we must. Beg when we can't." She held the boy tighter. "I didn't want to steal from you," she whispered. "But he was crying all night. He said his belly hurt." Eli sat down again, softer this time. "You could have knocked on my door." Her eyes filled with shame. "I thought humans hate us. Most do." He didn't answer right away. She was right. In many ways. He'd seen it before. Aliens pushed to the edges of towns, treated like trash, judged without being known. It wasn't new. But this wasn't a criminal, this was a mother. A tired, broken mother trying to feed her son. "What's your name?" Eli asked. She hesitated. "My human name is easier. They called me Lura." "And your son?" "Zelo." Eli nodded. "All right, Lura and Zelo, you can stay here for now." Her eyes widened. "Truly?" He nodded. "But the barn is cold. Tomorrow I'll bring you better blankets and real food." Tears touched her eyes. "Why are you helping us?" Eli looked away as if ashamed to answer. "Because I've seen a mother starve before and no one should live like that." He stood and opened the barn door slightly. Rain poured down now, cold and heavy. "Lock this from inside," he said. "Rest. I'll return in the morning." Lura nodded. "Thank you." Eli walked out into the rain, pulling his coat tighter. As the barn door closed behind him, something changed inside. Zelo opened his eyes. "Mama." She looked down quickly. "You're awake?" He nodded, his voice soft. "I saw him, the human. He looked sad." Lura nodded. "Yes, but kind too." "Is he a good one?" the boy asked. "I hope so," she whispered. Outside, the storm grew louder, but inside the barn, for the first time in many weeks, a small spark of safety glowed. They weren't safe yet, not truly, but tonight, they were not alone. The starving child in the shadows. The morning came slow and gray. Fog covered the fields like a blanket. Drops of rain still clung to the tall grass. Eli walked carefully toward the barn, carrying a basket in one hand and a folded blanket in the other. He paused outside the door. Inside there was no sound. He knocked softly. "It's me," he said. "I brought food." A few seconds passed. Then, the door creaked open a little. Lura stood there, holding her child close. Her face looked different in the daylight, paler, older, but still beautiful in a quiet, tired way. Her arms trembled, but her eyes watched Eli with caution. He gave a small smile and handed her the basket. "Bread?" boiled eggs, soup, all fresh. Zilo peeked out from behind her. The child's face was thin, his cheeks hollow, and his arms looked like twigs. But his large, glowing eyes stared at the food with silent hunger. "Come," Eli said gently. "Sit down, eat slowly." They moved to the corner of the barn. Laura helped her son take a few bites. He tried to eat too fast and she stopped him. "Easy," she said softly, "or your stomach will hurt." Eli watched. Every movement between them spoke of pain and love, a kind of love so deep it had survived fear, hunger, and escape. Zilo ate more, his small hands gripping the bread like treasure. Eli sat down across from them. "How long has it been since he ate properly?" Laura lowered her head. 3 days, maybe 4. We had scraps, old leaves, nothing real." Eli shook his head slowly. "He looks like he hasn't had a full meal in weeks." She nodded. "He hasn't." Zilo looked up at Eli, a few crumbs on his lips. "Thank you," he said quietly. Eli blinked. "You speak English?" The boy nodded. "Mama taught me, when we were hiding." Laura gave a small smile. "I didn't want him to grow up silent." There was a long pause. Then Eli asked the question he had been holding back. "Why not ask for help sooner? From someone? Anyone?" Laura's face changed. Her smile vanished. "Because," she said, "the last time I begged, they beat me. The last time I trusted a human, they sold me for parts." Eli's eyes darkened. "Sold you?" She nodded. "My people are not valuable, but our organs are." A cold silence filled the barn. Eli leaned forward. "I'm not like them." "I hope not," she said. "But I had to test you first, that's why I took the food. I thought, if you chased me with a weapon, I'd keep running. But if you followed and helped, you were willing to risk everything," Eli said. "For him?" Laura glanced at Zilo. "Yes, I'd do worse." Zilo had finished eating. His head rested on his mother's lap now, eyes half closed. He looked peaceful for the first time, but suddenly, he sat up straight. His small body tensed. "Someone's out there," he whispered. Eli stood at once. He stepped to the barn door and opened it slowly. In the distance, near the tree line, a figure moved, too far to see clearly, but close enough to feel danger. Eli turned to Laura. "Do you know them?" She looked. Her breath caught. "No, but I've seen that shape before. A scout." "Looking for you?" "Looking for any of us," she said. "They find strays, they report back, and then the hunters come." Eli shut the door, locked it. "We need to be careful," he said. "Stay inside. Don't make noise, I'll handle it." Zilo clutched his mother tightly. "Will they take her again?" Eli knelt beside him. "Not while I'm here." Outside, the shadow moved. Why, but the fear stayed. Inside that barn, 3 lives had just been tied together by hunger, by kindness, and now by danger. Eli stared at the locked door. This was no longer about giving food to a stranger. This was the start of something bigger. He had made a choice. Now he would have to protect them, no matter what came next. Shelter in the barn. The barn was silent, but the silence was heavy. Eli leaned against the wall, arms crossed, watching the door. Laura and her son, Zilo, were curled together in the corner. She didn't sleep. She just held the child close, like she was afraid the world might steal him if she closed her eyes. Rain tapped gently on the roof above. Eli had brought another blanket. He walked over and placed it near them. "You'll both freeze in those thin clothes," he said. Laura looked up slowly. Her eyes were red, not from anger, but from exhaustion. "Why do you care?" she asked. Eli sat down on an old hay bale. "Because I've seen enough people look away. I won't be one of them." Laura stared at him. "You're different." "I guess so." For a moment, neither spoke. Zilo had fallen asleep again, safe in his mother's arms. Eli cleared his throat. I know what it's like to lose someone, he said quietly. Years ago, my wife got sick. I tried everything, but she didn't make it. Laura's expression softened. I'm sorry. He nodded. That pain doesn't go away. You just carry it. She looked down at Zilo. That's why I can't stop moving. If I fall, he falls. If I give up, he dies. Eli listened. Her words were soft but sharp, like she'd lived that truth for far too long. He reached behind him and pulled out a small packet. Here, he said. I brought medicine, simple stuff, vitamins, fever tablets. I figured you'd need them. Laura took it slowly. You're the first human who's given me something without asking for something back. I don't want anything, Eli said. Just to know he's warm. And you're not afraid. Laura's lip trembled, and for the first time, she looked like she might cry, but she didn't. She simply nodded and whispered, Thank you. Hours passed. Eli boiled water on a small stove near the side of the barn. He handed her a cup. Laura drank slowly, holding it with both hands. Her fingers were rough, her nails cracked. Signs of long travel, hard living. Then quietly, she began to speak. I wasn't always like this, she said. On my planet, I was a teacher. I used to sing songs to children, teach them about stars and stories. I wore bright clothes, lived in a peaceful home. Eli listened silently. Then the sky broke, she continued. Warships came, cities burned, my people scattered, some fought, some fled. I ran with nothing but my unborn child inside, me. Eli looked at her, eyes wide. You were pregnant when you escaped? She nodded. I gave birth in a mine, alone, covered in dirt. Zilo's first cry was buried under the sound of chains and machines. She paused. Her hands shook. They forced me to work. I hid him for weeks, fed him scraps. When they found him, they almost took him. I begged. I fell to my knees. They let me keep him, but only if I worked double. Eli's fists clenched. How did you escape? He asked. Laura gave a small smile. During a storm, the guards ran for shelter. I ran into the dark. I didn't look back. Eli swallowed hard. I wandered for weeks, she continued. Sometimes we had food. Mostly we didn't. Every time we found a town, I hid Zilo. Every time I begged, people turned away. Eli leaned forward. But not anymore. You're safe. Now. Laura looked at him. Are we? He nodded slowly. You're under my roof. That means something. Just then Zilo stirred. He sat up, rubbing his eyes. Where are we, Mama? He asked. In a place where someone finally cared, she answered. Zilo looked at Eli, then gave a shy smile. Can we stay? He asked softly. Eli smiled back. As long as you need. That night, Eli didn't sleep well. He stood by the barn door, listening to the wind, watching the shadows, remembering Laura's story, the sound of chains, the cry of a baby in the dark. But deep inside, something had changed. He didn't just feel sorry for them. He felt responsible. Laura had risked everything to protect her child. Now Eli would risk something too, to protect them both, even if the rest of the world came knocking. Visitors and threats. The sun rose slowly, pushing away the mist. Inside the barn, Eli was already awake. He fed the animals early, moved quietly through the morning air, and checked the fence line twice. But his eyes kept returning to the barn. He couldn't stop thinking. Something felt wrong. Back inside, Laura was helping Zilo wash his face with warm water. The boy's cheeks had more color now. He smiled a little when Eli brought fresh fruit. But even with that peace, something heavy hung in the air. Laura felt it too. Are we still safe? She asked. Eli paused before answering. For now. That was the truth, but not for long. By mid-morning, the first knock came. It wasn't loud. Just 3 soft taps on the front door of Eli's farmhouse. He opened it slowly. A man stood outside, tall and wide-shouldered, wearing a brown jacket with a metal badge. It was Darren, one of the village watchmen. Not official law, but close enough. And nosy. Very nosy. "Morning, Eli," Darren said, forcing a smile. Eli nodded. "Need something?" Darren's eyes moved across the yard, the fields, the barn. "Heard something strange last night. Neighbors. Saw lights near your property. Thought it might be one of those visitors." Eli didn't blink. "A wild animal knocked over my bins, that's all." Darren scratched his chin. Maybe, but someone else said they saw a figure. Skinny, running, not human." Eli crossed his arms. "You calling me a liar?" Darren chuckled. No, just checking in. You know how folks get when aliens are around." "Fearful," Eli said flatly. "Dangerous," Darren corrected. Eli looked him in the eye. "To who?" Darren didn't answer. His eyes drifted again, toward the barn. "Mind if I take a look around?" "I do mind." Darren raised an eyebrow. "Why so defensive?" "Because you're not welcome here unless you have a reason." There was silence. Then Darren smirked. "All right. Just keep your eyes open, Eli. If you see something strange, report it. We're all counting on each other these days." Eli said. Nothing. The watchman turned and left. Eli shut the door hard behind him, then ran to the barn. Laura looked up as he entered, her eyes wide with worry. "Who was it?" she asked. "Someone from the village." "He suspects something." Zilo clung to her side, afraid. "What do we do?" Laura asked. Eli breathed heavily. "You stay inside. No noise, no movement near windows. If they come again, I'll handle it." Laura placed a hand on his arm. "Why are you doing this?" "Because," Eli said, "I'm not like them. And because I don't care what they say, I know you're not the enemy." Her eyes filled with emotion. "Thank you," she whispered. But the peace didn't last. That afternoon, 2 more men came. They didn't knock. They simply walked the edge of Eli's land, pretending to check fences and watch the trees. But Eli saw what they were really doing, searching, scanning, looking for something or someone. Eli stepped outside and made his presence known. "You boys lost?" he asked. One of them smiled. "Just doing our part, keeping everyone safe." Eli stood firm. "You can do that somewhere else." The men glanced at each other. "Sure thing." But as they walked away, one of them muttered, "He's hiding something." Eli heard it. He clenched his jaw. They were getting closer. That night, Eli blocked the barn windows with old crates. He placed straw against the doors to stop light from leaking out. He gave Laura and Zilo food, warm clothes, and a small radio for news. Then he gave Laura something else, an old revolver. She stared at it. "I hope you never have to use it," he said. "But if someone tries to take your boy again, you fight." She held the weapon tightly, her hands shaking. "I never wanted this," she said. "I only wanted to be a mother." "You still are," Eli said. "And now, you're not alone." Later, that night as Eli sat by the window with his own rifle nearby, he watched the road. A vehicle passed slowly, headlights off, watching. Eli whispered to himself, "Let them try." Because now, this farm wasn't just his land anymore. It had become a shield, a place where an alien mother and her son had found shelter. And a human man had chosen to protect them, even if the whole world turned against him, the storm and the stand. The sky darkened faster than usual. Thick clouds rolled across the hills and thunder growled far in the distance. A storm was coming, and not just from the sky. Eli stood by the window staring at the road. His hands were tense, his jaw tight. The villagers were no longer just watching from afar. They were planning something. He had seen the same truck circle the farm 3 times. The last time, it didn't stop. It parked down the road. 5 men stepped out and waited. In the barn, Laura sensed it too. She held Zilo close. Her eyes watched. The door. Her ears listened to every sound. The wind howled outside. Dust blew through cracks in the wood. The smell of rain and fear mixed in the air. Zilo whispered, "Are they coming?" Lura nodded slowly. "Yes." "Will the humans stop them?" Lura didn't answer right away. Then, she whispered, "He already has." Just before sundown, the first knock came. Not at the door, but the side of the house. A heavy bang. Then, another Eli grabbed his rifle and stepped outside. 5 men stood in the rain. Darren was in front wearing a long coat. He looked angry now. Tired of games. "We gave you a chance, Eli," Darren shouted over the wind. "We know something's in that barn. We saw tracks, we heard voices, don't lie again." Eli didn't move. He stood tall, water running down his face. "You don't own this land." "No," Darren said. "But we protect this town, and that thing in there, whatever she is, she's not welcome." Eli's voice was calm but cold. "She's not a thing, she's a mother. She's dangerous, she's starving." A pause. Thunder cracked above them, then Darren stepped closer. "Move, Eli, last warning." Eli raised the rifle, slow and steady. The men behind Darren flinched. "I said no," Eli replied. "You'd shoot your own kind for an alien." "I'd protect the innocent, no matter what planet they're from." The men stared. Something in Eli's eyes made them hesitate. Then, another sound came. The barn door creaked open. Everyone turned. Lura stepped into the rain, holding Zilo's hand. Her other hand held the revolver Eli had given her, but it pointed down. She looked scared, but she stood tall. "I'm not here to hurt anyone," she said loudly. "I only wanted food, a place to hide, a safe night for my child." Darren sneered. "You don't belong here." Zilo stepped forward. His small voice cut through the storm. "We just wanted to live." Rain poured harder. Lura fell to her knees, arms around her son. "Please, I've run so far, don't make me run again." For a long moment no one moved. Then Eli spoke. "If you want to get to her," he said, "you'll have to go through me." The rifle stayed in his hands, steady as stone. Darren's men looked at each other. No one stepped forward. The wind blew harder. Lightning flashed behind the clouds. The earth waited. Then Darren cursed and turned away. "Let's go." One by one, the others followed. In less than a minute, they were gone, just shadows disappearing into the storm. Eli walked to Lura and helped her stand. She was shaking. "You didn't have to do that," she said. "Yes, I did," he replied. Zilo hugged Eli's leg, his voice trembling. "You're our hero." Eli placed a hand on the boy's head. "No, just a farmer who saw a family worth protecting." That night the storm raged, but inside the barn Lura and Zilo slept in peace for the first time in weeks. Eli sat nearby, rifle beside him, heart heavy, but proud. He had drawn a line, and when the world came to push it, he stood firm. Not for glory, not for thanks, but because it was right. And sometimes being human means being the first one to stand. Humanity in the end. The storm passed by morning. The ground was soaked. Trees were bent from the wind. But the barn still stood, and so did Eli. Inside, the air was still and warm. Lura slept curled beside Zilo, their blanket tucked tight. The fear that used to live in their bodies had softened just a little. Eli sat on a stool near the door, watching the sunrise through a crack in the wood. His rifle rested nearby, untouched now. He had not slept, but for the first time he felt peace. He had made his choice, and he would live with it. By noon, something strange happened. People came, not with weapons, not in anger. They came with food, with clothes, with blankets. One by one, quiet and unsure, a few neighbors stepped onto the farm. Some looked down at the ground. Some couldn't meet Eli's eyes, but they came. Mrs. Dalton from the bakery brought warm bread. Old Man Harris left a bag of dry beans by the fence. Even the young girl from the school walked in and handed Eli a bottle of juice, then ran away without a word. Eli stood on his porch, stunned. He didn't ask for help, but it came anyway. He turned toward the barn. Maybe something had changed. Inside, Laura watched from a small gap in the boards. She saw the bread, the beans, the basket of apples. She turned to Eli as he stepped inside, holding the items in his arms. "What is this?" she asked, confused. "Looks like kindness," Eli said. "But they were ready to kill us," she whispered. "People are strange," Eli said. "Sometimes they just need someone to go first." Laura's eyes filled with tears. "I don't understand," she said. "You don't need to," Eli replied. "Just eat, heal, and maybe tomorrow, step outside with me." She looked at him carefully. "You still trust them?" "No," he said softly. "But I believe in what we showed them." That evening, something else changed. Zilo stood on the porch beside Eli, watching the sky turn orange. He held an apple in both hands. His cheeks were full, finally round with food. He smiled as the sun touched his face. Eli looked down at him. "You ever seen a sunset like this?" Zilo shook his head. "No, but Mama used to tell stories about them." Eli chuckled. "I think your mama is full of stories." Zilo nodded. "She says the stars listen when we're brave." Eli's heart stirred at those words. He looked up at the stars slowly waking in the sky. Maybe they do. That night, Laura stood just outside the barn, barefoot in the grass. She looked at the farmhouse, then at the moon, then at Eli. "Do you want us to leave?" she asked gently. Eli shook his head. "No, I want you to stay." "Why?" she asked again. "You've done so much." "Because you reminded me what it means to be human," he said. "And maybe we all forgot that for a while." She stepped closer. "There will be others like me," she said. "Still hiding, still starving." "Then let them come," Eli replied. "One family at a time." They stood in silence for a while. Then Laura whispered, "Zilo called you father when he thought you were asleep." Eli looked at her, surprised. "I don't know what tomorrow brings," she said. "But if it brings more of this, we won't run." He gave a quiet nod. "Then let's face it together." The world didn't change in one night, but on a quiet little farm, something bigger than war and fear had taken root. A man stood for a mother who wasn't human, and a child found a father who didn't care about species, only love. That was humanity, not guns, not flags, but the simple act of protecting the weak, even when no one else would, especially then. And that story, of a starving alien mother, a scared child, and a human man who chose to care, would be told again and again, because it reminded everyone what we were truly meant to be.